Hi fight fans, and welcome to another MMA Network video. Do you often question yourselves about who is the most feared striker that ever set foot in the octagon? In MMA history, a few fighters are known for specific weapons in their arsenal that spread fear and terror in their opponents. Such examples are Francis Ngannou's 96 horsepower right hand or Cro Cop's left high kick. Today on the UFC, Alex Pereira possesses such a powerful left hook that knocks out fighters to the shadow realm and can end a fight at any given moment. But if you think that left hook is the only thing to be worried about, you are probably wrong, since Poatan is a decorated striker with hundreds of lethal weapons in his arsenal, and keeping the fight standing against him is almost suicide. In this video, we will look at Pereira's upcoming fight against Blachowicz and analyze why he is the most likely next UFC double champ that will rule the light heavyweight division. On July 14, 2023, the undisputed champion Jamahal Hill announced on his YouTube channel that he had ruptured his Achilles tendon and would relinquish his light heavyweight championship as a result. That unfortunate event left many options on the table, and a few light heavyweight contenders entered the chat, putting their names on the title picture. The former champion, Prochazka, immediately noticed this news, showed his compassion, and hinted at the next potential fight with the UFC belt on the line. Man, I'm so sorry. I was really looking forward to our next fight. I appreciate your release of the title. Only a person who has experienced this situation can appreciate such a thing. Who is next? Me versus the winner of Blachowicz or Pereira? Or am I the champion? Tweeted Prochazka, who has also vacated his belt due to a severe injury. Considering that the Czech Samurai was the champion before Jamahal Hill took over, and taking into account that he never lost the belt in an actual fight, can we assume that the UFC will schedule Yuri to fight for the title next? The question that remains is, who will he go up against? Prochazka gave the idea to face the winner between Blachowicz and Pereira, and the UFC seems to go with that option. But before we discuss how Pereira will most likely become the next double champ and rule this division, let's look at how the Brazilian would run over Blachowicz, which would be an overture to his journey to the title. Let's not underestimate how good Blachowicz is or discredit what he has achieved during his career. He is an outstanding striker and a former champion who possesses that legendary Polish power. However, he is 40 years old now, over the hill, and slowly but surely going towards the retirement door. Not that Pereira is much younger, he is 36, but we must take into account that he is the hungrier fighter who has taken way less damage than Jan during his MMA career. Now this fight will not only be a stand-up war between two great athletes, but a clash between kickboxing and Muay Thai styles as well. Jan is an excellent Muay Thai fighter, while Pereira is an elite kickboxer and is the first and only fighter to have held glory titles in two weight classes simultaneously. Blachowicz is a defensive striker who tends to stay composed and wait for the opponent to make a move before he delivers a counterstrike that can potentially knock anyone out. However, Alex is an intelligent striker who does not charge recklessly forward. He is calculative with his strikes, and he has a lot of weapons at his disposal that could definitely hurt the Polish fighter. Pereira is a much faster and more dynamic striker than Jan, with the left hook serving as a nuclear button that can be activated anytime. Jan also possesses a vicious left hook that he throws as a counterstrike, but the Brazilian is too smart to let himself get caught from such a punch that can harm him. The only thing that Blachowicz does better than Pereira is throwing close-range strikes from the clinch, but considering the height and reach advantage Alex has over him, he could just keep him at bay while picking him apart with various combos, before delivering a deadly knee or a left hook that will turn Jan's lights off. Also, the last loss on Jan's resume is against Glover Teixeira, who is Pereira's training partner. Glover has already been in the octagon with Blachowicz and will undoubtedly give Alex some tips that could help him in the upcoming fight against the former champ. Some would argue that the Polish fighter is the better wrestler who will out-wrestle Pereira into a unanimous decision victory. However, Jan does not use his wrestling and always keeps the fight standing. Suppose he decides to take Alex down and mix his wrestling with striking. Alex has already developed solid defensive grappling to help him scramble and return the fight on the feet. Not only would that break Jan's morale, but it would also slowly tire him, considering how much energy is required to execute a takedown. On March 12, 2022, Pereira fought the high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt Bruno Silva. Although his compatriot kept trying to take Alex down repeatedly, Pereira defended well and scrambled from those positions to win the fight unanimously. If Jan decides to wrestle, it won't be any different. If Jan decides to charge forward, he would probably meet the same destiny as he did against Thiago Santos, who brutally knocked him out with a counterpunch. Considering the age and all the damage Jan has taken during his career, his chin is compromised. And one precise punch by Alex Pereira is all it takes to send the former champ into the shadow realm. Imagine how powerful Pereira was at middleweight. We've seen in his kickboxing career that he is even scarier and more powerful as a light heavyweight. As the fight goes, Jan is usually slowing down, and if he doesn't do anything crazy in the first, Alex will simply pick him apart with strikes before knocking him out in the later rounds. Again, Blachowicz is a fantastic fighter who can beat anyone in the top 5, and we should never underestimate his skills and power. However, Pereira is a different kind of animal who will most likely run over him in their upcoming fight. With Jan Blachowicz off Pereira's list, it leads to the question: will Alex Pereira be the next double champ? The short answer is most probably yes. We all know that Pereira's grappling does not match his striking, but if we look at the UFC's light heavyweight division, nobody in the top 10 has offensive wrestling skills that could be used to neutralize Pereira's striking. Some would argue that Magomed Ankalaev could take Alex down and beat him with ground and pound, but that's an improbable scenario, considering that the Russian likes to strike and rarely uses his wrestling. A few people would think that Paul Craig could cause Pereira some problems with his superior jiu-jitsu. Still, the Brazilian would most likely knock him out early, even before Craig even tries to wrap his legs around Pereira's body. Taking into account that Yuri Prochazka was the champion before Jamahal Hill, and the UFC would most probably give him a shot at the vacant title, we might be looking at a potential fight between Prochazka and Pereira with the UFC belt on the line. Now, Yuri has a reckless style of fighting that always puts him in harm's way. He keeps his hands down and constantly moves forward with knees, elbows, and punches. The Czech fighter gets hit too much and gets dropped very often. If he goes against Alex as he went against Volkan Ozdemir, Dominic Reyes, and Glover Teixeira, the Brazilian will instantly shut Yuri's lights off. Yuri's style is very exciting to watch, but at the same time it's very risky and dangerous. Implementing such style against someone like Alex Pereira, who can knock out a T-Rex with his left hook, is almost suicide. By the way, if you've enjoyed our video so far, please make sure to press that like button. Prochazka doesn't know of any other style but charging forward and pressuring the opponent with unbearable striking combos. Dominic Reyes capitalized on Yuri's recklessness and almost knocked him out, so did Glover Teixeira. However, unlike the two, Alex Pereira will make sure to end the show by knocking the Czech fighter out cold. Prochazka is the most unpredictable and aggressive striker in the UFC, but he never shoots for a takedown. Alex would not need to be worried that he would be taken down and could entirely focus on the striking exchange. No matter what Yuri throws at him, there is nothing that Alex has not seen before. Pereira would keep his composure with his defense on point, and the first mistake or an opening that Yuri would give him, the Brazilian will capitalize on that. But even if Alex decides to change the approach in this particular matchup and charges the offensive instead, we have never seen Yuri as a defensive striker, and how would he fare against someone who would put him on his back foot? Even if Yuri shoots for a takedown and somehow takes Pereira to the ground, the Czech fighter does not have good control from the top, and the Brazilian will quickly scramble and escape from that position. Considering everything, nobody in this division poses a real danger to Pereira except for Magomed Ankalaev. The Russian is a good striker, but not nearly as good as Pereira. However, he is good at mixing his wrestling with striking, and such a style could be Pereira's kryptonite. However, if Alex improves his defensive wrestling and the ability to scramble from any position, he could pick Ankalaev with strikes on the feet and win that bout. We can also see a scenario where Alex wins the UFC light heavyweight title against Prochazka, and the UFC decides to match him against Israel Adesanya to settle the score. They are 1-1 in MMA, and Dana White knows this fight would make millions of pay-per-view buys. With such an option on the table and taking into account that Alex Pereira has beaten Izzy 3 times out of 4, we might be looking at the next UFC double champ who could hold the middleweight and light heavyweight belts simultaneously. Maybe it's too early to say, but nobody can deny that if someone has the potential to be the next UFC double champ, that will undoubtedly be Alex Pereira. And what do you guys think? Do you believe Alex Pereira can become a 2-division champ? How do you think this upcoming fight against Jan Blachowicz would go? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you would like to watch more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe to our channel.